1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. Wednesday show live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast live. Soundcheck. Hello and welcome to the Royal Blue Podcast. It is the Wednesday show. We are live and I am your host Ian Croll. And joining me in the Royal Blue studio today to talk all things Everton, we've got the return of Tony Scott. Tony, how are things? All good?
Yeah, all good. On the back of, I would say, positive results at the Stadium of Light, and then looking ahead to our next game at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, where it's our another last game before another international break. So it's a big game for Everton on Saturday. One they dare not lose.
I should have been on Monday's podcast if you're calling it a positive result after Monday.
I think so.
You think it was a positive result based on...
Would you have took a point before?
I did say a draw, if I'm being totally honest, but I don't think it was a good result in terms of playing a team who's come up from the Championship, albeit in a good run of form.
You're going to take away that context of the Championship side, the third in the league. They were third at the time, wasn't they? They were in the top 4 or 5 anyway. They've been flying at the moment. So the majority of Blues I spoke to going there and leading up to the game, take your points here, beat Fulham, 4 points out of 6. Now if we do that, then it's kind of mission accomplished, so to speak. We've played a couple of tough games away from home this season already. Sunderland, who we've just touched on, who are flying in the Premier League. Not many teams will beat them up there. I think Arsenal find that out this weekend. We've played at Anfield and we played at the Etihad. We played some tough fixtures this season. So I think we're in an ideal situation in terms of the league position, but it was always going to be this way. We're going to be in peaks and troughs. We're going through a transitional period. We're going to hit bumps along the road with the team, the starting lineups, the personnel, the new signings. So Everton will easily fluctuate from 15th to 8th all season. I think that's the way it's going to be for large parts of that middle area of the league.
Okay, well, I don't necessarily agree that it was a good result. Maybe it was a good result based on the second half performance that we were lucky to come away with a 1-1. Very disappointed that we started off the game well and it quickly turned. It's always a gamble, I think, to say, well, we'll get a point here, but then we've got to go and win at home because, we'll come on to it. Fulham aren't even in a great position themselves, not had a great start. They are below us in the table by 1 place and at 1 point, so we've got to take advantage. We will come on to Fulham as we go on through this podcast, though. Today's agenda, a few topics of discussion that we do need to get through. We will address Everton's dip in form and lack of goals. I don't know, is it a dip in form? I'm afraid to label it as a dip in form with your positivity. I'm surprised.
No, because, listen, a win and Everton go 10th, is it? So,
well,
I think it's very congested, the Premier League at the moment. Very congested from about thirds, is it? Liverpool were 10th at the weekend and then got a win and now the third.
1 win in 8 games though in all competitions.
I get that, but we've had some tough fixtures that I've just touched on there in that period. But again, as I'll reference and I'll keep on saying it, they're going through this team and the group of players and the manager are going through a massive transitional period. Now, I'm not making that as an excuse. That's a fact. We're going from... There's 3 ways to play football against teams. You either play over teams, which we did under Sean Dyche. You either play around them and we play through them. We're not playing through them. So what are we doing? We're trying to play around teams at the moment. So we're going from playing over teams to playing around them. That's going to take time with the personnel. So whichever way you dress it up, Everton were never going to wipe the floor with teams. And I've seen a lot of comments this week on social media, and I think David Moyes referenced it, as well as that we only played well for a 30-minute period. A lot of the Premier League games I'm watching at the moment, so the majority of teams, no one plays well for 90 minutes. I look at Arsenal. Now, Arsenal are nip and tuck in games, and then they score from a set piece, and then they'll just dominate possession. So I get that. They've got world-class footballers. But I'm looking at the rest of the Premier League, United, Tottenham, Newcastle, Brighton, but the playing period's very similar to ourselves, where they're dominant for half an hour and then they may not be so dominant in other areas of the game, and then they'll be dominant for another 20 minutes. It's in that period where you've got to make it count. And that's what's Everton's Achilles heel, is that when they are dominant in that half an hour, like we've seen against Aston Villa, we've seen against West Ham, then games where we've dropped points, where we've been dominant for like good patches of the game, where we're not killing teams off, we're not ruthless enough. And where the likes of your Bournemouths and all your other teams that are above us in the Premier League, they're ruthless in that period of the match when they're on top, and we're not. And it's kind of our Achilles heel that we haven't got that lethal centre forward to get us over the line in them games where we're on top in.
Okay, I mean, just a comment here straight off the bat. So Brian Byrne says, I do agree with Tony. It was a decent result, but the way the chances were missed and the hideous subs, it took away the shine. I mean, I don't think there was too much shine, if I'm being totally honest. Let's get back to just relaying the agenda. So, yeah, I mean, Everton's dip in form. Can you call it a dip in form? There is certainly a lack of goals.
Yeah.
Strikers, we are creating chances, but are we creating, big chances? Are we creating good enough chances? Are we suiting our game to the striker? I think there's a lot of discussion points with regards to that. I also want to discuss the manager's reluctance to use Charlie Alcaraz. His game time this season has certainly been limited. When he's had a sufficient amount of minutes on the pitch, for me, he has made an impact. I know you could argue that he didn't against Wolves, but he was took off, and I thought that was a little bit harsh. But he came on against Palace. Other than that, he's had limited minutes in 15 minutes, 7 minutes stints. I don't know how a player's meant to make an impact from that point of view. And then towards the end of the show, we've done this in the past, and I've got the graphics ready. Me and Tony are going to pick what we believe is Everton's best 11 from the players currently available. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can see that we are going to illustrate it by using these tremendous graphics that I have built myself. So keep an eye out towards the end of the show for those who are watching on YouTube, and for those who are listening on Apple, on Spotify. Then we will try our best to describe the team for you, formation, and where players will fit.
Apparently I've had my Weetabix this morning because I'm positive about Everton.
To be fair, though, you are usually, I mean, according to our audience, not too positive about Everton. I disagree with that, because I think you can be positive about Everton. I just think you can be straight to the point. I think that's
with loads of Everton fans, that like you can be so down about them 1 minute. And
I think sometimes just being realistic, though, isn't it?
And you've got to try and get that middle ground and be subjective in your opinion. But I think that's the beauty of football and why we do these podcasts, because you can come in here one afternoon. I remember when we came in from the Crystal Palace game, one last minute, we were in here, we were bouncing, it was great. And the next minute you're coming back after a 3-0 defeat against Tottenham, and the next minute you're going, when's the next win coming from? So I think that's just the beauty of it. It's not the mood you're in. I'm just looking at it from being involved in watching Everton, obviously on a weekly basis, and you're seeing there's signs there. And I hate to do this, but I compare it to where we were 18 months ago. It's night and day. Night and day.
I think that's fine to compare where we are now compared to where we were 18 months ago. That's fine. I think my big question overall right now, forget what's happened in the past, forget what we could potentially do in January or the summer in terms of recruitment. Is David Moyes getting the best out of this squad available to him? That is the question for me. And right now, I don't think he is. I'll ask that question again, just so people who are watching on YouTube, you can see that I've got two pictures set up. The left is Tony's team, the right is my team. So we will come on to that a little bit later into the show. I guess, so just ask the question there. Is David Moyes getting the best out of this current squad available to him? Is he using the correct players in the right positions? And is he effectively making the right in-game decisions, substitutions in order for Everton to pick up points and results?
His substitutions did baffle me on Monday. I'm a big fan of David Moyes, what he's done at the club first time around, what he done last season, keeping us in the division, the run we went on. So if you look at it from January right until now, Everton are right up there in terms of results since David Moyes come back into the club. And considering the players that he had at his disposal last season, and to accumulate them points that we did is breath of fresh air. Now we're seeing a different Everton side, and that's down to him. Now, the expectations are European football. Who's that down to? That's down to him. So that's the position that we're in at the moment. Is he getting the most out of his squad? You could say that about most Premier League teams at the moment. And I'm not just making excuses here for them, because 1 minute we're like, brilliant, we're beating Palace, we're beating Brighton on the opening day, we're beating Wolves away, we're getting good results. And the next minute's like, oh, we got beat 3-0. But we're still playing well in games. There's not a game that springs to mind, obviously the cup game. There's not a game where I've come away from watching Everton this season going, that was terrible, that was disgusting for 19 minutes. I'm not having that. Apart from the Wolves League Cup game. So we've always been in games, we're always competitive. We always look as if we're, I know it's dare to say this with our goal scoring records, but we're always a threat. We're Grealish and Ndiaye. The big problem is that we could have Pep Guardiola in charge of Everton right now. I don't think the results would differ because of the problem we've got from an attacking perspective. And we're going to be here till January. Jamie Carragher went on Monday Night Football and said exactly the same thing. Unless the owners address that centre-forward problem in January, Everton will be consistently looking over their shoulder. Because I sound like a bit of a broken record here and a bit of copy and paste, but I say this every single week on here. Every team in that Premier League right now has got better centre-forwards than Everton. And that's a big problem. A big problem, because the two Everton have got cost us the best part of 50 million plus. The goal scoring record is horrendous. They can't hold the ball up. So there's a big problem. So if you're saying, all right, if you're not a goal scoring threat, at least bring Grealish into play, hold the ball up. So that's two big problems, and none of them are intelligent enough to make dart and runs in front of in the 6-yard box for when Grealish and Ndiaye knocked the ball in.
Did Barry not do that on Monday?
I thought Barry, for what I've just said, I'm going to obviously contradict myself here. I thought Barry, and I got dogs abuse on social media as you painfully do. I thought Barry had his best game for Everton on Monday night. I thought he linked up play really well for that half an hour period. I thought Everton were on the front foot. He was making runs, and I looked at his stats, and you can make stats what you want with them. But out of his aerial duels, he went up for 9, he won 3, which is totally unheard of compared to what I've been witnessing from Beto over the previous months. So I would say to him, listen, we've seen enough of Beto, over 70-odd games. I'd say to Barry, right, I'd say to him, this is your run now for the next 6 games. You're going to lead the line. Now, I'm open to see Barry again start against Fulham. I said, do you know what? Here's your run. I think he took him off Moyes, and it was a baffling substitution at the time. I thought, that's brutal. That's quite harsh. The lad's working hard. He's doing his best, and he looks more of a goal-scoring threat than what Beto did. He's holding the ball up a lot more. He's linking up. And that substitution came, I thought, that's a bit brutal. And then I looked at it in hindsight, I thought, he was on a booking. He was away at the Stadium of Light. All it would have taken was one foul, and he was off. That crowd would have gone on top of him, and Everton down to 10 men. And Moyes just thought, right, would have taken a point in this situation. We had the chance to go 2-0 up. It's now 1-1. I'm going to have to take him off because one bad foul leads to a red card. He's off, and I've got to get 10 men behind the ball. And whether we see that out, it's a different kettle of fish. So I get the logistics around that substitution at the time. We'll probably speak about the Dwight McNeil one shortly. But going back to the original question, is David Moyes getting the best out of this team at the moment? It fluctuates from game to game. It really does. And
is that not a concern, that the inconsistency? And I know you're going to go, well, no team other than maybe like an Arsenal or a City can dominate and control games. And I'm not expecting Everton to dominate and control games. Certainly not expecting Everton to dominate possession. But I'm really surprised. And you're not the only one, I guess, where you said you think Everton do play well in spurts, or they have played well this season. It's all about opinions, and that's fine. I'm quite clearly seeing a different game. But what I see is a slow, laboured build-up from the defence into attack. It's an over-reliance on the wingers who are creating chances to a Beto and a Barry. Barry missed a really poor one against Sunderland. We know Beto's done the exact same. There's no emphasis on the fullbacks to get forward, which isolates the wingers and effectively Barry, Ndiaye and Grealish are doubled up on, and effectively they'll just run out of space because there's nothing to go. And then that cross that Grealish would have to put in, which he did for Barry on Monday, it's got to be pinpoint every single time.
But that's what the Premier League's about, team.
Well, there's no creativity in the middle either. So the midfield three, it's. I mean, we discussed this on Monday at length. You know, when we look back at the Sunderland game, there's no pace, there's no power. The number 10 in Kieran Dewsbury, who I don't think is a bad player whatsoever. I was more than pleased when we bought him. He is not a number 10. I'm sick and tired of saying it. I'm so surprised that Moyes is actually sticking with him as the number 10. Was he brought in as the number 10? I don't really know.
What are the options? Alcaraz in there.
I think this is the point, though, isn't it? So options. There is options. There is definitely options, and Moyes is reticent to either explore those, experiment with those. And when you say the word experiment, you think, well, you're just experimenting in a Premier League game. Are you throwing that game away? You know, you can look at it both ways. I think quite clearly now what we're doing at this moment in time, it's not conducive to us scoring a lot of goals, is it? And you know, it's fine. You can put that down to the strikers. I know they've missed chances, but I do think it's, you know, it's a little bit lazy and a little bit unfair just to label it all on the strikers. When would we
be talking about this? Would we be talking about the hole in the number 10 if Beto puts the ball in the back of the net and Barry puts the ball in the back of the net?
I don't know, because
we wouldn't we'd have about 6 or 7 points more.
Don't know,
and no one would be mentioning it.
You don't know that. I think that the handling of the strikers and the swapping and changing after half time or on the 60-minute mark, you know, confidence is shot completely.
But what does he? I'm not making excuses. I'm playing devil's advocate here. What does he do? We've seen Beto for 70 games. He's not good enough. Shouldn't be anywhere near the team. So he's now starting to play Thierry Barry. He's starting. Did okay for me, and I'm open to see him again. But what's the alternative? I've been saying it all season that Iliman should be playing in a false 9. I think he's intelligent enough. I think he's the only player that actually in the team looks like he's going to score and put the ball in the back of the net. So I would try it.
The only problem with that, though, is, and Gav made the point about this, and you know I agree with you on that. Yeah. I've you know, seconded that, if you want to call it that, as Iliman as a false 9. Play him up front. You know, he's strong enough to hold the ball up. His close control is up there with some of the best in the world, and quite clearly he can finish. He's going to AFCON in December, isn't he? For potentially a month.
Yeah.
So right away there, we've got no goal threat other than Iliman and Dye, and he's out the team in a month.
So what's the option? That's what I'm saying. So you've got 2 strikers with 50 million plus.
I think you're going to have to persist now, probably with Barry.
I think,
you know, my feelings on Beto, I'm willing to give him a chance. Barry was given a chance on Monday, and I felt like I don't know whether he took it, but it was a promising display. Enough probably to say, well, there's your chance at home against Fulham.
Yeah.
Beto, if it's not working, then maybe Beto can come on as an impact again with about 20, 30 minutes to go. But even when Beto came on Monday, I thought he was poor, but I think that was mainly down to the fact of just we couldn't get hold of the ball. We couldn't make any forward passes, and any time we did get the ball, we just gave it away to their keeper as well.
Yeah, it was. I said at the time, once Iliman went off, that was Everton's game plan gone.
I mean, the substitute was a weird one, wasn't it? I think bringing Dwight McNeil on, we've discussed this again on Monday. Moyes said that he'd been training well.
How do you see into that?
Well, what does that say for Tyler Dibblin?
Exactly for me. So Everton have chased all summer for potentially one of the best teenagers in Europe that Southampton were asking for the best part of 50 million for. Everton tracked. Then to finally get it over the line, and then for him to sit on the bench all season. He was given an opportunity against Crystal Palace in the first half, if I remember rightly, and he didn't do much. No, I'm not judging him from 45 minutes, far from it. I remember saying at the time that he didn't do much off the ball. So if things aren't coming off for you on the ball, everyone makes bad passes and bad runs, but you've got to show a bit of effort off it. You look at Iliman Ndiaye, he's a prime example. He's not just world-class going forward. It's his track and back, what he does for Jake O'Brien. He's constantly in his own half, trying to win the ball, in tackles, trying to intercept, get Everton up the pitch. That he should be looking Tyler Dibling at Iliman Ndiaye in training, his application, his professionalism, and his attitude on the pitch, going forward and getting back and helping his team. He's got a prime example there to look out for, Tyler Dibling. And to me, from an outside looking in, Dibling must not be doing that in training. He mustn't be. Otherwise, he'd be on the team sheet. He'd be getting his game ahead of Dwight McNeil. So that tells me that he's not doing it in training. He's not looking at Iliman as a bit of an idol. He should be looking at going, right, I want to be the next Iliman. So if Everton dare sell Iliman and whenever that may come, because bids will come in, by the way, for Iliman, them goals and them performances this season won't have gone unnoticed. He was brilliant against Manchester City. He was fantastic against Tottenham. He's been brilliant all season for Everton. And that goal he scored on Monday Night Football goes out to the world. They'll have seen that and go, wow, what a player. And even like the Reds that I know at the moment going, how long do you think you're going to keep him for? Straight away. So Everton had a big problem in the summer, straight away. So Dibbling should be looking at that and going, right, I want to be, if there's ever a problem, when India goes to AFCON in January, I want to be first on the team sheet. Now, obviously to me, he's not doing it in training. Otherwise, it'd be coming on for that substitution.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, you can read between the lines and Dwight McNeil getting in over Atala Dibbling and then Moyes' reasoning for that choice. You know, it makes you not just look at Dwight McNeil, it does make you look at Dibbling, exactly what you're saying. But we spent, 35 million on him, and that was, it's not like it was on a whim. We pursued him for a long time. And what I find a little bit weird, and this, I hate talking about recruitment when we can't really do anything because it's obviously November. My concern with it all is that what plan was it in terms of bringing Dibbling in? Because if you knew you were going to get Grealish and you were just going to consistently play him on the left rather than maybe try him as the number 10, got no problem with Grealish playing on the left, by the way, but where then do you fit an Iliman and Dye? Obviously, you'd have to put him out on the right, who he's done well on the right. He's been Everton's top goal scorer. He's a player who Everton's biggest attacking threat. So where does Tyler Dibbling fit in that in the grand scheme of things? He's only really gonna get the odd minute here if Iliman and Dye gets injured, or obviously we're down 1-0 or something like that. And even then, Moyes is only giving him like 7-8 minutes. Like really, he was poor against Wolves. I get that, but the whole team was poor against Wolves, and the whole setup and balance of that team against Wolves was completely wrong. So my concern is that, one, you can't really give credit to Moyes for Ndiaye because he's only on the right-hand side because he's accommodating Grealish.
Well, Moyes could have easily put Grealish in a 10.
Well, why
he's made references to that.
He's not. He hasn't done it though, has he? He's not
exactly. So why can't you give Moyes credit for pushing Iliman Ndiaye on the right-hand side, putting Grealish on the left, and looking how well Ndiaye is playing? It's worked, if anything. No, but Moyes could counter arguments there saying
it's worked in spite of the decision of David Moyes to put him on the right-hand side.
Well, he could say that was my plan, to put Grealish on the left.
Why are we spending 35 million on a Tyler Dibbling then?
To beef up your squad, because you know that he's going. So you can't just have two players. So I'm guessing here that Everton and the recruitment team and Moyes have come together, got right, we need a replacement for if Grealish gets injured or Ndiaye goes to AFCON or gets injured himself. We need a substitute ready to come in. Now, the thought process is like, get this young kid from Southampton, he's the next best thing, let's get him in. But obviously, he's not been working hard in training. That's what I'm second guessing here.
I wouldn't be spending 35 million on a right midfield Tyler Dibbling if I knew my plan was to have Grealish on the left and Iliman and Dye on the right, because we've just literally been saying there, we've been crying out for a striker.
Oh, I said so after
add the 35 million to the 28 that we've just paid for Tierney Barry, we could have gone out there and bought close to buying a Voltamade, just as an example. I know he was like 60, maybe 70 million. You know, if you look at things logically from that point of view, like this is the plan: Grealish on the left and Dye on the right. Obviously, Dewsbury Hall in the middle. At the moment, Dibbling might come good. Yeah, he might do. But at this moment in time, that 35 million plus seems like a waste.
It does, and it may do. We don't know how it's going to work, but all we can do is try and get our heads and thoughts around what the recruitment team were thinking at the time.
Just for me, sorry to interrupt, but it looks like it's been thrown together a little bit, and I think I try and give them play devil's advocate a little bit and give them a little bit of sympathy. I think the whole recruitment at one point has been based on whether we can get a Jack Grealish, doesn't it? Is he coming? Is he not? And then ultimately, Jack's made the decision himself. Yeah, I want to go. I don't want to wait till the final day of the transfer window. Let's get Jack in. So I feel like if Grealish is not in that team, who plays on the left?
Well, you could put Ndiaye over there,
Well,
can't
no,
you?
it
And
would
then you
be
can put
Ndiaye,
Dabbling in and Dribbling on the right.
It would be Ndiaye playing on the left, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
So that's my point of saying Grealish coming in or Ndiaye playing on the right is to accommodate Jack Grealish.
Yeah, I get that process, that what it probably is, but at least we've got that option. But the problem for me is that them squad players, the likes of a McNeil and a Tyler Dribbling, you should be looking at them too. Are they doing enough to say, I'm going to give you an headache, Moisey? I'm going to make sure that Kieran Dewsbury is droppable. I'm going to make sure that I'm knocking on the door to say Grealish's shirt and Ndiaye. Because if Troy McNeil comes on the Monday, or Tyler Dribbling, for example, against Crystal Palace, they come on, score a goal, provide an assist, work the backside off, get a round of applause off the Everton fan base. But you guys give Moisey an headache there. Are they? They're not. None of them are. None of them are knocking on the manager's door, and none of them could argue either if any of them are dropped.
Well, Alcaraz did against Crystal Palace, and he was knocking on the manager's door.
I get it for 10 minutes. He come on against Sunderland, but the ball he's played through to it. He had 2-on-1 against Sunderland to win the game of football.
Yeah, look, that was poor, but that is clearly a player who's lacking rhythm, match fitness, and he's just not sharp.
It's a simple pass. It's a simple pass. I disagree.
No, look, quality-wise, it was poor. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you.
He comes on, a simple pass, Everton win the game. Then he's got a case in point to say to the manager, there's an assist for the winner. I start.
I still think it's a consequence of not being used properly when sufficient minutes could have been given to.
I think the problem for Alcaraz and Dewsbury in that 10 position is that we're seeing a bit of a change in the landscape of how Premier League football's being played this season. That number 10 role, it's kind of dated.
I hate describing it as the number 10 role.
I know, because it's not. There's no Lionel Messi no more. So to play in that role, you need to be a big unit to get up and down the pitch. Now, Liverpool, for all the money they spent on Wirtz, they put him on the left last night. Because as a number 10, the game's bypassing him. And Liverpool are getting ran ragged in midfield. So they put Szoboszlai in there because he's a big lad and he can get up and down the pitch.
You've just made me have a rethink of me team selection, which I'm not going to be able to change now, but we can discuss. Does a Merlin Roland look like he looks like he could be that number 10?
Yeah, because he's a big lad. Now, to play in that role, you look at Takori last season for Everton and the previous years. Listen, the ball at his feet wasn't the best, but the lad could get about the pitch, score some vital goals, and he was a big presence physically in the middle of that number 10 role. So defenders didn't know whether to go and press him, or midfielders didn't know whether to drop. He's a big lad, and that's what you need to play in the Premier League in that role at the moment. You look at Arsenal, you look at Liverpool, you look at Chelsea, they've got big lads that can get up and down the pitch. Caicedo, for example, playing centre midfield, he's up and down. Enzo Fernandez, up and down. You need to be very special to play in that number 10 role if you're playing Premier League football.
That is literally one thing that the centre midfield, the three players that we've got in those positions is lacking, isn't it? It's pace and power. Yeah,
and we haven't got any.
And probably, Gavin, Connor, we discussed it on Monday, but just that physicality as well. Gay's good at obviously winning the ball back. I don't think there's any question with that, but he's a 35-year-old aging player. I just don't think James Garner's got that, and for all the talent that Kieran Dewsbury has, I just don't think he's got that as well. I just feel like he is better at playing deeper, progressing the ball forward. I tell you what, just a sidestep, what I did find funny, when McNeil came on. Remember I said the other week, I bet you these players have some sort of an impact, and I named McNeil as one of those players just because I thought, well, injuries and suspensions, and international
but you didn't expect it that early.
No, well, I just thought they're all going to play the part, so Moyes is going to have to use them. I didn't think he'd put him in place of Dribbling. I just thought it'd be a forced change. So when McNeil came on, I thought, he's going to do it here. He's going to have that impact.
I'm going to go back to when I said this and get it. I'm going to trim and copy it and throw it on my socials.
Look, McNeil obviously was doing something in training for Moyes to pick him.
I think it's just professionalism. I think it's attitude, application.
But he was poor though, so wasn't he?
He was, but Moyes, listen, how you play, how you work in training epitomises if you get a game. Moyes has always said that, and the majority, how many managers in the Premier League banish or fall out with a player because the attitude and application isn't the best in training? It happens all the time. Players getting fined left, right and centre because they're turning up to training late, they're not working hard, they're not showing the right team ethic. All these things embody you getting a shirt on a Saturday afternoon. Now, to me, Tyler Dribbling, he's a young lad, he's come to a new club from the south to the north. I get all that. But if Everton have chased this lad all summer and they've sat him on the bench and one of the players in his position has been taken off injured, you'd say, right, he's coming on. So obviously there's something going on why he didn't bring him on. And Dwight McNeil came on ahead of him. And even on top of that, the performances we've seen from Dwight McNeil this season have nowhere near being the best. So to me, it tells me that Dwight, and Moyes referenced it as well, about McNeil's been working hard in training. So read between the lines, like, well, if McNeil's been working hard in training, why isn't Tyler Dribbling started?
No,
so you've got to read between the lines.
I agree with that. And to have a little bit of a defence of Dwight McNeil, it's not really an excuse because it shouldn't be. You should be match ready. But football in this day and age, it is all about rhythm. It is having that match sharpness. We know Dwight McNeil has never been one to come in cold and hit the ground running. He does need a build-up of games to say, well, he's working his way into the team there. He's working his way into form. I've seen Dwight McNeil have some of the most shocking games I've seen an Everton player have. And he was booed off the pitch one time. I can't remember who it was against. It was certainly wrong because he was that poor. But over time, give him that run. Now, I'm not saying put him in.
He's never going to get that run.
He's never going to get that run. So you do need to be ready. I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit. I'm just thinking, who's the better player? Who do you need to come on and score a goal? Who do you need to come on who's going to have that creativity? Is it Dwight McNeil or is it Tyler Dribbling?
But you can't send a message out to the rest of the team, can you?
I'm sick of managers sending out messages. I want my manager to be proactive and pick the best team who's going to win the game. Now, I'm not saying Moyes hasn't done that. Maybe he has sent out a message, but I don't think that's the right attitude to have. So what does that do
if Tyler Dribbling, if we don't know, by the way, hasn't been working as hard as Dwight McNeil in training, and Tyler Dribbling comes in ahead of him? What message does that send out to the rest of the team? Go, well, hang on, well, there's a lad there that one's pulling a stripe out in training, one's obviously not working as hard, but he's getting the game ahead of him. He's not Lionel Messi. He's not justified a start. So, and a sub-appearance. So there's obviously, we can only second guess as supporters and fans involved in the media, that we can only second guess what's going on. And when the manager says, Dwight McNeil has worked hard in training, you can only read between the lines that the player that should have came on ahead of him hasn't been working as hard in training. And that's the root of it. That's the fruit of it. And he's not the only manager that does that as well. Mikel Arteta does it. I'm sure Arne Slot does it. I'm sure Pep Guardiola does it. If you're not working hard in training, you will not get a shirt. It's as simple as that.
I think that's fine. And I'm not saying if Dribbling's not working hard on the pitch or on the training pitch, there shouldn't be a message sent. But he's a young player who predominantly at this moment in time in his career is going to do most of the good work with the ball at his feet. So maybe we've overpaid and we're asking a little bit too much of a youngster. But it's not like he's cold to this. He played for Southampton last season and by all accounts was fantastic player.
He subbed off a lot. Yeah, subbed off a lot last season. Listen, from the manager's perspective, he could dress it up and argue that Sunderland are on top, had lots of possession. We haven't got a player to get us with the pitch like Iliman Ndiaye does. Tyler Dribbling doesn't work as hard off the ball than what we need, as Sunderland were dominating it. Croll were getting on top of them. They're getting shots in everywhere. Who's going to work harder for me without the ball? Dwight McNeil or Tyler Dribbling? And I'm guessing that Moyes has gone, right, I need McNeil here. Although he wasn't as good himself, he's probably thought logistically he's going to get round the pitch more than Dribbling will. He's going to work as hard as anyone on the pitch, where Dribbling won't. And that's probably a thought process behind it.
It was a strange one, but we obviously trying to work out why it was done, and Moyes has obviously given us reasons for it. Another thing for me is it's a square peg in a round hole. McNeil's not a right winger. He's obviously played there in the past. But we know when he's put in that position, he drifts in and doesn't really play in that position anyway, which again leaves the team totally unbalanced. Just want to come back to Alcaraz before we move on, because Moyes has shown a reluctance to play him or give him plenty of opportunity. I guess early stages of the season you could understand it and you could accept it because you've got a Jack Grealish on the left, you've got a Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall who scored a fantastic goal against Wolves and was doing okay, I think. And then you've got an Iliman Ndiaye on the right. So I think that's fine. Obviously, over the course of the past couple of weeks, it's been clear that Dewsbury-Hall can't really have an impact. He could probably play in that position, but in terms of the impact that he does for that team, I don't think his creativity is there. I think Alcaraz he's got that creativity. He can pick out that pass. I'm not saying it's a killer ball, but he can certainly play that direct pass, which helps the strikers, Beto, Barry. And you've seen that there's evidence from that from last season, if I'm being totally honest. He creates space in between or in behind the defence for the strikers to run onto. The point that I'm trying to get at, compared to last season, when you look at it, personnel-wise, the team, other than Jack Grealish, it's not really that much difference, is it?
The way the playing is, though.
Exactly.
That's it,
exactly.
Yeah.
So we're almost trying to run before we can walk.
Well, when you sign Grealish, you've got to change the way you play.
No, I don't think
you can't play over-the-top football when you've got Jack Grealish on your side. You may as well not have him in the team.
You see, or you're seeing you're seeing direct forward balls as over the top, and I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that at all. You can play through the middle like you do on the wings. You can play with your number 10 into feet and let the striker run onto it. We are completely running before we can walk.
But we've got two wingers that hug the touchline.
So it doesn't matter. We need to start implementing midfielders or including midfielders that can add a bit more creativity to the team.
But Charlie Alcaraz doesn't add creativity to
I don't agree with that whatsoever.
Well, do you think? Well, I'd like to see his chances created when played or assists or anything.
The one positive from last season was the partnership between the striker, Beto, at the time, and Charlie Alcaraz. And it was there for the 45 minutes against Palace, and we looked so much more of a cohesive attacking unit.
What it was 1-1 against Crystal Palace, and we just trying to get at them when they were just tiring. That's what it was. Everton are changing the landscape of where you're playing.
Yeah, we're doing it too quick though. Just because we got a Jack Grealish.
We haven't. What's the point in signing Jack Grealish when you're going to put Charlie Alcaraz in there to knock balls through to Beto? He's going to run out of space. You can't hold the ball
can
up.
Do that as well. If Grealish is that good, he should be able to adapt his game as well. There's just too much of an over-reliance on the wingers to create chances at this moment in time.
I get it's an argument to play Alcaraz. I totally get it. But the same token, what's the point in going back to the way we played last season when it's not sustainable? But it's not sustainable to play football like that.
It's sustainable for this period of time until we can figure out what we can do for a new plan in January and the summer.
But I would second guess that Alcaraz in a 10 with Ndiaye and Grealish will get absolutely overrun.
It's getting overrun now.
I know, I agree. So that's my argument, is that I'd put a player who's got obviously physical strength in role to stop that happening, because Everton again, obviously the elephant in the room is Decore in that role, in terms of like that player who had the physique to go in and play in a deeper role. So that's where I'm kind of worried in terms of putting Alcaraz in there, because would Alcaraz keep the ball more than what Hughes-Bjorn would? I don't know.
Danny Church says, Tony, got to stop you there. Alcaraz is a game-changing player.
Is he? Why, when he come on against Crystal Palace for 145 minutes this season? He went game-changing on Monday when he could have won us the game. So I could counter-argue that.
Those 7 minutes that he had.
It doesn't matter 7 minutes. You're playing a pass from here to there to win the game of football. And then he goes on the manager's door and goes, well, I've just won you the game. I'm starting. But he didn't. And it's them final key moments in games, the fine margins in games.
I just think just because we've got a Jack Grealish doesn't mean that we can immediately change the way we play. I
guarantee.
I can understand the logic behind it, but I think over the course of how many games have we played now? Is it 9, 10, whatever it is? It's quite clearly it's not working. And yeah, you can blame the strikers, and you can place all the blame on the strikers.
It is to blame on them.
It's not. It's lazy.
Beto's XG this season is +5 goals. Obviously, Barry's was 1. This. If Everton score them goals, they're nowhere near where they are right now, and we'll have the same conversation till January. Until Everton address it and get a centre forward in, we're going to have the same problems week in, week out. They'll play games in moments like we did against Palace, like we did against Brighton, like we did against Wolves, and we had our moments in the Merseyside derby and at City. You'll have games and moments. We were arguably the better side against Manchester City for half an hour. We were the better side against Sunderland for half an hour. You look at all the games where Everton have played, they played very well in patches, and that's when you need a centre forward, put the ball in the back of the net, and guess what? We haven't got one. And all the other 19...
We could have got one in the summer though, but we didn't.
And that was my argument when the window shut and everyone was going, oh, what a window that was. We signed Grealish. Hang on, half of them players haven't played. and they were nowhere near Premier League ready. We needed a centre forward because last season we had 4, yet the quality wasn't there with any of them. Like Calvert-Lewin, Brozier, etc. I get all that, but we had 4 to pick from. We've got 2 now, and none of them are good enough.
Just looking at Alcaraz's stats from last year, so he started 7 with 16 appearances, and he had 3 assists, scored 2 goals, and created 6 big chances. Now, okay, I don't think they're the worst, I don't think they're the best, but it's probably better than what we've got at this moment in time.
So would you play him in a 10 role?
I think my point, though, is that doesn't necessarily, what I say doesn't necessarily mean it's right. I'm not
What's
saying
your opinion on it? Would you, if you were Moyes right now, would you play him in a 10?
On Saturday against Fulham, a team who was struggling just like us, I would definitely change it up a little bit. We'll come on to our teams now. We might as well come on to the teams. Okay. I will definitely play Carlos Alcaraz, Charlie Alcaraz, whatever you want to call him. Right, you can see, YouTube audience, those who are watching live, 2 pictures on the screen. The left is Tony's and the right is my team. I actually like your team, if I'm being totally honest, but again, it goes back to options, and this is what David Moyes could potentially do, but you know, it's futile this, because I just don't think he's going to do it.
I know.
So you can see, it'll come up on the screen in a sec for us. You can see it there. So I'll give everyone just a second to have a look and leave your comments on the live YouTube channel. Let us know what you think. Tony's is in a nice pink colour. Mine is in a nice yellow colour with a background. You've gone with a slightly different formation to what we actually play, whereas I've stuck with what the formation is now. What you thinking, first of all, before you start going into the team and changing the formation? My
thinking is Mykolenko has not been good this season. One thing you could say about him, for what he lacks going forward, that he made up for defensively, 1v1. Not many got changed out of him. But this season, he's been tore to shreds in so many games. So many games. Quite easily, Sunderland's got the best of him. And there's so many teams now that are coming to the Hill Dickinson Stadium and targeting that left-hand side. They won't target the right-hand side as much because O'Brien's got the physicality. So where he lacks in terms of going forward, he'll more than make up from, like, wingers won't get past him as much. Whereas in Mykolenko is having a torrid season. He really, really is. So I think he needs to be dropped out the side. I put James Garner in there because... Just
very quickly, sorry, I've just realised for our audio audience who can't see this, just name your formation.
Oh, yeah, so I've got Jordan Pickford in goal, obviously. Centre-back pairing of Michael Keane and James Tarkowski. I will keep Jake O'Brien at right-back, mainly because the data and the analysis guys will obviously tell you Everton have been very successful this season at defending set pieces, the best in the Premier League. And because of that, you've got Tarkowski, Keane and Jake O'Brien in there at the heart of the defence, mopping up from set pieces. And I'll put James Garner in at left back. Main reason is that he can get forwards, defending 1v1, he's very good, not many get past him, and he can whip a good ball in. So I think he's got more attributes going forwards and defensively than actually our left back at the moment in Vitaly Mykolenko. So that's my 4. I'd have just a guy right in front of that back 4, so you've got a lot of protection there. And then I'd put Kieran Dewsbury, who plays in more of a number 8 role for me in the games I've seen him playing for Leicester and Chelsea, more of a ball player. And I'd have him in there with Mail-in role just to add that physicality to it. And then you've got Jack Grealish on the left, Iliman Ndiaye on the right, and then I'll put Thierry Barry in there, so you've got pace to run in behind. So yeah, the ball mightn't be getting held up as much, but at least you've got bodies in to get it up and down the pitch a lot more. So you've gone for a 4-3-2-1, effectively. Yeah. Interesting that you say the ball might not be getting held up as much, but that's been one of your biggest bugbears this season, that we haven't been able to hold the ball up. Exactly. So try the other one. That's my argument, is that we would be more direct. No, I'd say to Thierry Barry, making runs behind if you can. If not, try and hold the ball up so you can get Mail-in roll up to support you. That's been a big problem, that Everton can't hold the ball up because they've got ball carriers. They've got Dewsbury, they've got Jack Grealish, they've got Iliman Ndiaye. So they're getting the ball from defence to the final third, but that's where it breaks down. So then you're obviously hoping that the likes of Mail-in roll and Kieran Dewsbury can make them darting runs in midfield, because that's what we've seen last season. And you made a reference to Charlie Alcaraz. He could easily play in ahead of Kieran Dewsbury or Mail-in roll in that side as well. you need to have midfielders making them runs in behind as well, not just a centre forward. But I would try that just mainly because it's something different. It adds physicality in a number 10 role, in Merlin role as well. It puts Jude Biol in an 8 role where he's more comfortable in. And it also gives us something different up front, which we've seen from Beto in the 70 games so far.
Okay, I mean, I don't mind that team. I quite like it. I will disagree with you on James Garner as left back though. I know we're limited in our options and what we can play there. You are right, Vitaly Mykolenko hasn't played well this season. I don't think he's even been average. I think he's been poor. Yeah. However, he is in my team for the purpose of balance and keeping that left-footed player on the left-hand side. He's my left back for me. Obviously got Jordan Pickford in goal. Right back, it's without question that James Garner, of the players available that Moyes is willing to pick, is the best right back at the club. He's played there ample times for England in the under-21s. He's done it for Everton. I actually think he's a better right back than he is a central midfielder. If I'm being totally honest, I think he's going to have, or he could have, more of an impact on the game as an attacking full-back, and we know he's not afraid to throw himself into a tackle either. The two defensive pair, and again, there's not much we can do. I know there's going to be people shouting here to say put Jake O'Brien in there, and I completely agree with you with the height and defending set pieces, by the way, but I've got a caveat to that. Tarkowski hasn't played well this season. We can make excuses or we can come up with reasons for that. Is he fit? Is he missing his partner in Branthwaite? I think you can all add that all together and you get, a poor run of form for Tarkowski. Michael Keane obviously being one of the bright sparks there. I think it just goes back to what I say every single time. A defensive partnership is actually more important to individual talent of that centre back. Yeah. So that's why we've had this debate with Conor O'Neill in the past where he said it would be really harsh for Michael Keane to drop out. If Jared Branthwaite was to come back in, I'd have no issue in throwing Branthwaite back in for Keane to get that partnership back with Tarkowski. Obviously, O'Brien's not in that team, and I could take it either or, really. I think you could argue that Tarkowski's form has not been good, so O'Brien deserves a choice, a chance to play there. I just think the way I've set up with that team, and in terms of the players there, I just wouldn't want too much upheaval. So that's why I'm keeping Tarkowski in there. And let's face it, he's the captain of the team. Yeah. Moyes is probably not going to drop him. Merlin Roll goes in there. And again, he's a player who would substitute for O'Brien's height, in defending set pieces. So you take O'Brien out the team. Merlin Roll comes in there. He's 6'3". He could easily defend, set pieces and corners if need be. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, there's no secret that I don't believe he's the number 10. He would drop in for me. I agree that against a team like an Arsenal, a City, a Chelsea, those type of teams, that midfield might be a little bit too open. But against the Fulham, I think the best form of defence is attack. And, they're the two holding midfielders that
You've got no just a guy in there, have you?
No. I think he's been poor, though, to be honest. So
I think that... listen, I'm not going to go to see it's like very subjective, but I think that midfield will get overrun. With them two in there like that, they was overrun. You haven't got one who can tackle.
But the point is, so it's getting overrun now. It's because we're thinking more about
getting overrun with tacklers on the pitch.
It's getting overrun. We're thinking more what the opposition can do to us. We need to be thinking what we can do from an attacking point of view.
Yeah, I get that.
If we're in control of the ball, I think that would give us more control of the ball with that midfield, certainly with Alcaraz as the number 10. So for the purpose of the audience who are on Spotify, audio, trying to get my words out. So I've gone with the same formation, 4-2-3-1. I've said the defence, they're me two holding midfielders, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall and Merlin Roll. Alcaraz as the 10, sticking with Grealish on the left and Intai on the right, and obviously I'm going to give the nod to Barry based on his performance on Monday. Although I do think if Beto was to come in, that side with Alcaraz behind him would benefit Beto as well.
Whoever starts up front for Everton makes you believe that the other player's better. That's
because we're not playing to the striker's strengths, though, are we?
Well, do you know what? I've got sympathy for Thierry Barry. Is that when you looked at Everton bought him from Villarreal, he scored 12, 13 goals in La Liga. He played up front with another strike partner, and Everton go and sign him and then put him up front on his own. Now, Villarreal didn't do that. Villarreal signs a centre forward to replace him, and guess what? They're playing with two up front. Everton haven't done that. So they've actually signed a player who plays up front with a strike partner, put him in as a striker on his own. Villarreal didn't do that. They went, hang on, we need another centre forward to replace him. We're still sticking with two up front.
Again, so you're throwing a player you've just described how he played last season, what was his strengths and weaknesses, how he scored all those goals with his partner for Villarreal, but then we bring him in and he's
well, that's on the recruitment team. They haven't looked at...
It's on the recruitment team, it's on the manager.
Yeah. So what was the thought process of signing him? Surely you should have been looking at strikers all around the globe to go, right, who can hit the ground running straight away? If not, if they wanted to sign a project signing, who is going to hold the ball up for Grealish, for Ndiaye? If not, who's going to be more of a goal-scoring threat? Now, they've signed a player, quite clearly, he's struggling in front of goal. He can't hold the ball up as much and is struggling to find his feet in the Premier League because, guess what? He plays up front with a strike partner at Villarreal. So I don't get what that process was in terms of signing him.
I mean, the profile, he's a young up-and-coming player, athletic, scored a couple of goals.
But you've got to look at when you sign a player,
I'm just trying to look at
of course, yeah.
Like,
you've got to look at the bigger picture. Villarreal, look at it. Brentford have look at Brentford. They know exactly what they're doing. When Tony left, when Whistle left, exactly to bring the other centre forwards in. Bournemouth do the same. They're thinking a transfer window ahead all the time. If he goes in the summer, he comes in. Now, Everton knew they needed a centre forward in the summer. If you sign one, you know quite well that the one that they currently had's not fit for Premier League level. So they go and sign one that obviously is young. Yeah, he may have potential. He may be the project signing, but he's not quite clearly what we need for this moment in time in the Premier League. It may happen for him in 2 years' time. We don't know. But currently, right now, we play football now, not in 2 years' time.
I think recruitment-wise, if you want to just touch on it a little bit, it's very... I see it as you'd either try and build a philosophy and you bring those players in to fit that philosophy, or you are a pragmatic manager with a pragmatic side and you bring in players to be versatile, I guess, and maybe play across the park if need be. At this moment in time, or last season at least, that's what I felt Everton were. David Moyes came in, he obviously took over a side that he hadn't built, and he used players where he felt they could be effective and have an impact. And case in point is obviously Jake O'Brien as right back. Dominic Calvert-Lewin got injured, so he was effectively forced into playing Beto as the lone striker, and obviously brought in Alcaraz, and he kind of played as the number 10. It would have been interesting to see how we would have, or how we would have tried to set up if Calvert-Lewin hadn't got injured, because I don't want to touch on this, but if Calvert-Lewin...
I don't want to touch on this, but...
If Calvert-Lewin had been in this team, I wouldn't be surprised
ideal.
if he obviously got a lot on the end of a couple of the chances.
He'd have been ideal for this team.
I think we're in a position where we haven't got unlimited funds, so we can't really go out and say, right, we want to buy this player for this philosophy, and this is how we want to play.
Why do Brentford do it? Why do all these teams in the Premier League go and find gems for 10 million? They all do it. Brentford have got one. Palace have got one.
I think they're pragmatic as well, though. They know that they can play players wherever.
So why can't Everton go and scout these players that Brentford, Bournemouth signs a player for £6 million. They loaned him in France for the second half of last season. He's come in the summer. He's scored 4 or 5 goals for Bournemouth.
Look, you're not wrong. However, Brighton, they've had years to do that. Bournemouth, they've had years to do that. This recruitment team, they've only had the summer. I think we can all be critical of what they've done. That's fine. Yeah. We've also got to give them a little bit of time as well. I keep harping back to it. My overall point is, what are we doing now for the next 9-10 games?
But that's I get that. But at the same token, the recruitment team have still got to be looking now in January. Yeah. That's their job.
But I don't think we're going to go out, and I'd be very surprised if we go out and find a 15-20 goal a season striker.
But they've got to go. That's their job. They've got to go and find one.
Yeah, well, but don't disagree.
Yeah, they have to go and find one, because if Everton carry on with Beto and Barry after January, they'll finish in the bottom half. I will guarantee they'll finish in the bottom half. If they've got any aspirations of knocking on the door for European football next season, they have to get a centre forward in. They have to, because they'll end up in the bottom half with them two currently. They're not a goal threat. They can't hold the ball up. They're not intelligent enough to play in the Premier League at the moment, so they need a centre forward. That's the brute of it. So I just think at the moment that, in my opinion, that's the best possible side I would do, mainly because to add a bit of physicality in a number 10 role, to put Dewsbury Hall in his favoured 8 position, and to take Mikalenko out the side and keep James Garner in it as an attacking point of view.
I would also look at changing the way we play, at least for the next couple of games. You know, not the over-reliance on the Grealish and Dye just to whip the balls in. Obviously, they're going to be the creative force no matter what. I'm not saying don't pass to them.
Yeah.
That's not my point. That's stupid. What I'm saying is look at different ways to get the ball forward, whether that's a bit more direct, whether it's over the top, whether that's obviously into feet of Barry, you know, we know who's better at holding the ball up, or into the channels where Barry can run onto. Again,
But aren't you giving the ball away? Yeah, and you're just like, if you've got possession-based footballers and Grealish and Ndiaye...
I'm not bothered about creating more opportunities to score goals if it means that we're a little bit more attacking. Do you know what I mean?
Natural instincts. You'll know this, obviously, from being at the game. When you look at the Hill Dickinson pitch, it's a lot bigger than it was at Goodison. So naturally, the defenders, Jake O'Brien, Mikalenko, and especially the centre midfielders, what do they do when they get the ball? Their natural instinct is to look where Grealish is and look where Ndiaye is. That's just their natural instinct because they've got very good footballers in the team.
Yeah, I'm not saying do that, but you also need to look at...
Do they take it upon themselves to go forward with the ball, just Garner or...
No, you need to look at a James Garner. I mean, again, there's a perfect example last season, and you can dismiss the opposition all you want. You know, the ball that James Garner played into Beto, you know, for that run on against Leicester where he scored 2 goals. James Tarkowski did the exact same thing. I'm not saying...
It won't happen in the Premier League, that though, will it? Leicester, he scored a lot of goals against poor sides. You're going to come up against
poor sides, and you're going to come up against teams who push forward, who create that space. It's so easy to defend against Everton because everything is in front of the opposition defence. If you've got two towering centre-backs, it's very easy to defend against them crosses, isn't it? And I just want the team to be a little bit more flexible. I want Moyes to be a little bit more go back to what he's good at, being pragmatic.
I get you. I get your point, and he should try something a little bit different in terms of like, can we try and go through the middle of teams, because we're not going over them, so we're going around them. Can we go through them a bit more? I get that point, but I think each manager's got their own identity and how they play. And there's
I don't know whether
Moyes
has got an identity.
What is it then?
He just adapts to his scenarios, and he does bring in, or tries to bring in, quality players who he will rely on to create those chances. He's done it with West Ham, with Bowen. He did it previously with Everton, with Arteta, Pienaar and stuff like that.
But he hasn't got the resources of Arteta, of Slot, as a Thomas Frank. Now that's why Thomas Frank is coming under criticism, because they've had a lot of money to spend, and they're playing football that Sean Dyche should be proud of. So that's the argument there.
I feel like you've just backed me points up about philosophy versus being pragmatic. We haven't got endless funds, like I said before, to go out and spend money on the exact player that we want, because 1, we can't offer the big wages. 2, we've tried to bring players in the summer.
I know, but my argument is that a lot of other Premier League clubs are doing that. Your Palaces, your Bournemouth, your Brentford, your Brightons, they're all doing that.
They've had a good run at that with their recruitment team. Our recruitment team have only had the summer.
Everton haven't signed a decent centre forward for about 15 years.
No, I know.
It's not just this summer.
Don't disagree with you on that.
Since Romelu Lukaku, not one decent centre forward's come through this. Arguably, the best centre forwards we've had in the last 10 years has probably been Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who we let go on a free. He'd probably be, dare I say, ideally suited to this team more than what he probably is at Leeds. And he'd probably start ahead of these two at the moment that we've currently got. But that's the situation we've put ourselves in.
Okay. Well, very quickly, predictions for Fulham. I guess we don't need to do team selection because we've already just decided what we want to do for Fulham. I can't see the manager doing what we're going to do, to be honest.
I'd like him to be a little bit more flexible. I did say on the last podcast that Everton wouldn't, I think it was one of the, obviously, the comments was that I bet you Everton go exactly the same way they did against Sunderland, and they never knew Everton would have to change, and they did. Barry came in.
He only changed the striker, though, didn't he?
Exactly, he did, but at least he changed it, yeah. I think he'll change it again on Saturday.
What, striker?
No, I think he'll keep Barry in the side, but I think he'll change something else. I don't know what it is, but I think he will change it.
Do you think he hears the noise around all that, or do you think he just doesn't care? Or not like he doesn't care. What I mean is he thinks, well, I know what I'm doing, so this is what we're going to do. Because stick to the plan, I guess.
No, I get that. You've got to listen to outside noise. You've got to, because in the end, fans will dictate whether you're in a job or not. And I'm not saying that's football from day one. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of managers, analysis teams, recruitment teams, all listen to fans' views because it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. You can't dismiss fans' views because you've got this ideal philosophy. You've got to take it on board, at least respect it and go, may have a point there. I'm not saying fans are picking the team, far from it, but you've got to listen to different points of view in terms of like, Moyes can't be stubborn in terms of this is the way we play. We're just going to give it to Grealish all the time and hope. We've got to look for other avenues of scoring a goal. Will we see Ilman guy go in a false nine? Will we see Merlin Roll pressing a number 10? Will Jude Biol go into a number 8? Will James Garner go in a fullback? At least we've got options to do that.
We have got options. He's not using
I'm open to see that on Saturday. So I think he'll start with Barry because, in my opinion, for all it was worth, all the stick I got on social media, I think he did do okay. I think that we'll see another change in terms of personnel as well in maybe a midfield or defence.
Prediction then?
2-1 Everton.
I'm going to go positive 1-0. It's not going to be an easy game. And Fulham, we got a draw against Fulham, didn't we, last minute? And we did beat them away from home. So I guess, you know,
we did. Struggling this season. I like Marco Silva as well. Really do. I think he's a very, very good manager.
Subplot there.
He is,
Iwobi as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Has he been playing for Fulham?
Yeah, he has. Yeah. He has. And Fulham, you could look at, obviously, their 2 centre forwards they've got better than ours, holding the ball up, scoring. Got a young lad there called Josh King. So I think they've got decent players, but if you look at it on paper, Everton have got a much better side than Fulham. And it's one that a lot of Evertonians would be going to our brilliant stadium, which we've seen last weekend in a different environment. Be back to football this season, this weekend, 3 o'clock kickoff. Really looking forward to this one, and hoping for a positive result, positive performance before we go into the international break.
Okay, that is all for today's show. As always, give us a like and subscribe to the channel and drop us some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of the week, and I've been Ian Croll, joined by Tony Scott, and this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.